I'm a writer, and when I'm signing one of my books, next to my name, I like to write, "Always believe in you." Because in my lifetime, these 4 simple words have helped me to overcome obstacles and to achieve many of my goals. I'm also a basketball coach, and I like to encourage the girls to also believe in themselves and to believe in one another. Each and every one of us is capable of amazing things, and I think that it starts with believing in ourselves. When I was young, I liked to collect quotes to help remind me to believe in myself. And one of my favorites was by D. Crow, and it still hangs in my office today. It goes, "There is no limit to the goals you can attain, the success you can achieve. Your possibilities are as endless as your dreams." Now, if you have a passion for something and you have a dream that you want to follow, it makes it way easier to believe in yourself. For example, I love to play basketball. And when I was at University High School here in Spokane, I remember telling my parents, "Hey, I'm going to get a scholarship to play basketball in college." And my parents didn't think I was big enough or strong enough to play college ball. But the good thing is that they never told me, because then I believed that I could do it. And if you believe something in your mind and your heart and your soul, you make it happen. I worked hard, I set goals, and I was fortunate to receive a scholarship to play basketball at Eastern Washington University. And it started with that belief in myself. Now, my junior year at Eastern, I started to do a little bit of modeling, and I kind of thought, well, this would be a fun way to travel and make some money after college. So, since I had already created kind of a history of believing in myself, I thought the day after graduation, I packed up my bags and my Volkswagen Rabbit, and I drove to Seattle to find myself a modeling agency. And a lot of people thought I was crazy. And that was kind of the era of the very slender waif model, which I had just finished playing college ball, so I was not. And I went around to the different agencies, and most of them said, "You're going to need to lose some weight." And I said, I'm not going to do that, because I believed I could do it on my own terms. So I continued to look, and I found an agent that appreciated my athletic build. And 3 years later, I had an agent, a list of clients, and I filmed a national commercial for Soloflex. My life was pretty good. In fact, the same time that I filmed that commercial, my boyfriend at the time asked me to marry him. And we set a date to be married. We were making big plans for the future. I was a believer. I believed life was just going to get even better. I've also learned in my lifetime that life is not perfect and that you will face challenges. Just days before our wedding, my fiancé and I were hit by a train. A train that was estimated to be traveling up to 65 miles per hour hit our car. I was thrown out the back window, and my fiancé was killed on impact. I spent the first week in ICU at Deaconess here in Spokane. And when I woke to find that I had a shattered right arm, my shooting arm, a broken femur, punctured lung, bruised heart, lacerated spleen and kidney, separated sternum, cracked ribs, chipped vertebrae, concussion, skull lacerations, internal bleeding, among other things. But most devastating of all was my fiancé was gone. I no longer believed. A week after that, I was moved to a hospital bed in my parents' living room. They bathed me, fed me, took care of me, and wheeled me from room to room. And I love my parents, and I am so thankful that I had them. But at that time, I wished I'd been dead. There was a time that I went and I was sitting in my dad's old lazy boy chair, and I was watching TV, and I started to cry. And I couldn't stop crying. I literally couldn't stop crying. And my mom, she came up to me, and like a good mom should, and she put her arms around me, and she said, "It's going to be okay, Sonya, it's going to be okay." And I just turned and I started screaming at her, "It's never going to be effing okay." And I meant it. I thought my life was over. I wanted my life to be over. Now, maybe if I'd had basketball, something, it would have helped me to believe again, but I felt like I had nothing. But I did have my parents, and they gave me positive support, so I was lucky to have that. And I had a history of being an athlete. And so when I had to go to physical therapy, I knew what it was like to go run a set of lines when I didn't want to. I knew what it was like to get on the basketball court with a sprained ankle, even if I didn't want to. I knew all those things. So I kept moving forward. But here in my heart, it was hard to believe. And I needed help. And that's when my mom gave me a journal. And my journal helped me find my way, and the writing. On November 20th, 1991, 1 month to the day from the day of my accident, I wrote my first journal entry. And when my pen hit the page and I started to write, the pain that I felt inside just flooded the pages. And then each day after that I wrote a new entry, the being able to get rid of the anger and the frustration and to see those small little accomplishments started to change my life. It started to change. Instead of "I cannot live," my words and my thoughts in my journal started to change to "How will I live? How will I live?" It was a subtle change, one I didn't notice at the time, but a change all the same, showing me that I was starting to believe again. Believe that maybe one day I could play basketball. One day, maybe, I could even be happy. Well, finding that happiness started on the basketball court. First, I had been in a wheelchair, so I went from a wheelchair to a quad cane, and then a quad cane to a cane. And about the time that I moved to the cane, I started to go to the gym again. And I started to take the basketball with me, and I would dribble with my left hand because I couldn't use my right. And then I would start to dribble with the right as soon as it got strong enough. And then I started shooting with my left hand and on to my right and on until I was on the court again. And it started with that belief that I could do it. 3 years later, I married a friend from college, Sonya Elliott. And he helped me to believe in love again. And I have 2 awesome teenage kids, and I still play basketball 2 or 3 times a week. There was a point when I decided that I wanted to share my story. And I went to my husband and I said, hey, I'm going to write a book. And my husband said, what do you mean you're going to write a book? You don't even write. And he was correct. Then, other than writing in my journal after my accident, I had never written. But I knew that I could do it because I had a passion to do it. After my accident, I read 2 books that helped me to survive. 2 of those were Living When a Loved One Has Died by Grolman and Widowed by Dr. Joyce Brothers. And both books helped me to kind of follow in a journey of someone that was grieving. And so I wanted to do that for other people because those books helped me to feel like I wasn't going crazy, like I wasn't alone. And so because I had created a history of believing in myself, I said, hey, I can do this. I am going to write a book because I had a passion to do it, and I believed I can do it. And then I created a positive environment. I took writing classes. I went to writing conference. I joined writing groups and did what I needed to do. And in 2011, my book, Back on the Court, was published. And it started with that belief in myself. A few years ago, I started coaching a girls' basketball team in my neighborhood. They didn't have a history of success. And when I took over the program, I thought, I want to make a change here. I believe I can make a change. I want these girls to believe in themselves. And so my coaches and I went in, and not only did we teach them the fundamentals of the game, we brought in motivational speakers. We brought in a life coach. We work with the girls on team building. We have journals so they can write down their goals, and in each journal, we have a bookmark with the word believe. In the last 2 years, we've won 2 division titles, and the girls as a whole believe in themselves and believe in one another. Now, what is it that makes us believe in ourselves? For me, it often starts with a conscious choice. If I'm facing a challenge something I've never done before, I'm nervous about, I have to say, Sonya, you can do this. You're capable of this. Maybe even if I'm not sure that I feel like I am. It's a conscious choice. But when I was dealing with loss and death, I had never dealt with that before. And that was new to me. And so I needed help. So if you're struggling with anything in your life, struggling to believe, do not be afraid to ask for help. Do not be afraid to accept the help of others. Each and every one of us is a little bit different, and our journeys through life are going to be different. But we're capable of such amazing things. Remember, follow your passions. Create a positive environment for yourself, and always, always believe in you. Thank you.